31 minutes past the hour. Welcome back to Sunday Live here at Citizen Television. On to our first feature of the evening. And for a child who has been defiled, justice should begin the moment a case is reported. But in Busia County, that journey often stretches from months and into years.
Some cases have dragged on for more than 5 years, slowed down by repeated adjournments, missing files and claims of intimidation, despite repeated calls for children's matters to be fast-tracked. Tonight, Emily Chebet brings you the story of families who say they have been betrayed twice, first by the accused and then by a justice system they believe has failed to protect them.
Malaika, not her real name, walks hand in hand with her father. For 4 years, this has been their routine, a long walk through the corridors of justice. Her steps seeking justice after her innocence was taken away from her when she was only 4 years.
That was in 2022, on 26th of October. I got the information in the middle of the night where I was working, and quickly rushed back home. They stayed distant from where I work, in Busia town. So when I got there, I found that my daughter had been defiled. And the process was the mother had taken her to the hospital for treatment purposes. The report was made, and the court process began.
The man behind the act was 40 years old then, a man they knew and trusted, a neighbor and a family man too.
That case was booked in Court 1, and the perpetrator was arrested. But then the perpetrator struggled and removed the case from Court 1 to Court 2. Then he was released on bond.
The family's pursuit of justice and accountability for the man accused of the crime would soon descend into years of uncertainty, a relentless circle of adjournments, missing court files and repeated postponements that left justice seemingly out of reach.
This case continued throughout 2023. Up to December, the child had not testified, and even the witness had not testified. We had 2 witnesses, and one was bribed and did not testify. So the first witness, who was the mother, was also on the push. 1 year later, she had not testified.
Frustrated by years of delays, Malaika's father took the unusual step of writing directly to the court, requesting that the case be transferred from a court that several families we spoke to described as a source of repeated frustrations and delays. Eventually, his request was granted and Malaika's case was moved to a different court.
In Court 4, hardly 3 months after the case began, the child and the witness were given the opportunity to testify. So we were happy. I was happy that things were moving on. But then it continued. The usual problem of postponement came in again. The whole of 2024, after March, the doctor and the police had not testified. The whole of 2024.
Malaika's father says they have been to court more than 30 times.
Then later he was found to have a case to answer. That was in November 2025. So a date was set for hearing because the perpetrator claimed that he would defend himself. So come January 2026, the magistrate was transferred. So the case again was taken back to Court 2, now with a new magistrate.
Malaika was defiled on the night of October 26, 2022. The same night, a medical examination was conducted. The case was reported to police, and fearing mob justice, the suspect surrendered himself to authorities. In court, the accused was initially granted a cash bail of 500,000 Kenya shillings or a bond of 1 million with surety. Unable to meet the conditions, he remained in custody. However, the family claims he later used his influence to have the case transferred to a different court, where the bond terms were reviewed. Within 2 months, he was released. More than a year after the case was filed, the child and a key witness finally took to the stand. It would take until June 2025, almost 3 years for the examining doctor and the investigating police officer to testify. Their testimonies culminated in a ruling in November 2025 that the accused had a case to answer. A hearing date was scheduled for January 2026, raising hopes that the matter would finally move forward. But those hopes were short-lived. The magistrate handling the case was transferred, forcing a transfer of the matter to a different court. The first mention before the new court took place on March 30th, 2026. A second mention was scheduled for April 15th, but the proceedings could not continue after the court file reportedly went missing. The file would later resurface and another mention date fixed for June 8th. Yet, in another setback, the file was once again nowhere to be found. The matter was postponed to June 22nd, 2026, when a hearing date was eventually set for September 2026, after the accused informed the court that he would conduct his own defense. In the quiet, hilly landscape of Teso in Busia County, another family has spent the last 4 years searching for justice for their daughter. They say the abuse was carried out by a relative who lived nearby.
Akampea shilingi 10 na avocado. Sasa vile mtoto alirudi, niambia mama mimi niko mchafu. Nikamwambia uko mchafu aje? Kuangalia nguo yote na spams peke yake.
A report was filed and the child was immediately placed on post-exposure prophylaxis medication as the suspect is known to be living with HIV and on treatment. The family later handed him over to police and he was subsequently taken to court.
Ati kuja hapa kufika huko, mwenyewe alikuwa amebali yeye alifanya kitendo kama hiyo. Afika kotini amekataa ati sio story ya kurepu. Ati maneno ya shamba na ilikuwa ya kufanya repu. Sasa tukienda tunaendanga kila siku, naenda wanatupeleka tu, hakuna ukweli. Sasa ndio tukabaki hatujaona haki yoyote.
For years, they have traveled miles away to attend court cases, but the case never quite takes off.
Tumeenda karibu mwaka 3 au 4. Tukiendanga tu anatuita, tunafika huko hakuna kuongea. Nafika huko ati leo umebadilisha. Ati turudi tena. Naenda hivyo tu pikipiki. Unaamka asubuhi na acha kazi yako ya kufanya. Pengine unataka kulima, unataka kufanya nini? Sasa hiyo pesa yangu hiyo 500 si afadhali nipe mtu anisaidie kulima.
The hope for justice is fading not only for this family. Hundreds of kilometers in southern Busia, another family is watching time slip by. The survivor, who was just 14 years when she was allegedly raped in 2021, is now 19 years old. The child born after the ordeal is already in school, yet the case remains unresolved in court.
Bila tuliingia kotini, hatukuwa na lawyer na kesi iliahirishwa kwa sababu alisema hajisikii vizuri, na wakaahirisha na wakapeana tarehe nyingine. Kutokea hapo tulikuwa tukienda, kesi inaahirishwa mpaka tarehe 15 mwezi wa 10 2024 ndio tulipata nafasi ya kujieleza kotini.
Forced to flee her village because of stigma and alleged threats, the young woman now lives away from home. The child is with her grandparents, while the accused, a government employee transferred to another workstation not far from the area, continues to live freely as the wheels of justice stand slowly. 4 years later, the investigating officer is yet to testify.
After hapo tumekaa bila kusikia chochote, menyamaza mpaka tarehe 19 mwezi wa 8 2025 ndio niliambiwa na askari kwamba natakikana kotini na twende na mtoto. Kaambiwa turudi huko tarehe 26 mwezi Januari 2026. Wakati tulienda, tuliambiwa koti imeahirishwa, na wakapanga tarehe 26 mwezi wa 3 ambapo tulienda na hata faili haikusomwa.
The multiple trips to court have taken a heavy toll on this family. At one point, the mother, her daughter, and her grandfather traveled long distance to a DNA test after the accused denied paternity, despite the family believing there was sufficient evidence. Months later, they are still waiting for the results. They say they have lost faith in the process and fear the results could be manipulated. The family also claims they have received repeated threats from the accused, including on the day Citizen TV visited their home.
Kesi hii tangu ianze, tumekuwa na majaji karibu 4. Tulikuwa na jaji wa kwanza alisukuma akawacha. Jaji wa pili ndiye alishikilia mpaka akaileta, mtoto akasikizwa naye akatoka. Jaji wa tatu yeye naye hata hakuisikiza, alikuwa tu faili inakuja inasomwa inaenda mpaka saa hii. Sasa tena imewekwa kwa jaji mwingine wa 4 na sijui ni kwa nini inatendeka hivyo.
According to the Rural Education and Economic Enhancement Program REAP, a local organization in Busia County, the scale of the problem is staggering. Since 1998, the organization says it has handled more than 14,000 defilement cases.
There is a lot of interferences in courts in Busia. We have so many brokers. Lawyers really play around to destroy cases. Like you get a case starts, and then when it's almost being concluded, the perpetrator changes the lawyer, and the new lawyer who comes says they want to start the case afresh. Again, you go with the case, 2-3 years down the line, the perpetrator changes the lawyer. Like I know I have a case that lawyers have been changed like 4 times.
Ukora wenye unafanyika ni wa very high profile, ambapo kama hauwezi kujua utafikiria ni kesi ina delay, na kumbe sio kesi ina delay. Watu wanacheza game. Aya anaweza kuja na file amechelewa, icheleweshwe kufika kwa ODPP, ichelewe kufika huko, na wakati inaitwa kotini haiko. Then wakati kesi koti imemaliza, yeye analeta file maksudi.
Despite repeated directives by the Chief Justice Martha Koome that cases involving children should be concluded within 6 months, in Busia, the wheels of justice appear to be turning backwards for children whose innocence was stolen.
Kile kibaya kabisa ni wakati umefuatilia case, imechukua course, imefika sasa expert witnesses, ambaye ni daktari na IO. Hawa expert witnesses, IO atacheza game, kwa sababu ile mwingine mumegundua, mumemaliza, sasa hii ingine hamtaniweza. IO hakuna siku atabond daktari kuja kotini kutestify. Sasa hiyo ni game. Faili ni kotini inaitwa, lakini daktari hayuko, IO hayuko, napeananga mtu mwingine kupeleka.
It's like this same case that I'm talking about. This case was in court too, those many years ago. But this case was under mention for 4 years. No hearing. It never went to hearing. It never matured to hearing until after that magistrate was transferred. Is when again we wrote a letter to the ODPP and we were told if we could avail all the witnesses in 1 day.
In 2021, 120 defilement cases were filed at Busia law courts. 94 have been concluded, while 26 remain pending. In 2022, 127 cases were filed. 74 have been concluded, with 53 still pending. In 2023, 140 cases were filed. Only 60 have been concluded, while 80 remain pending. In 2024, 106 cases were filed, 46 have been concluded, while 60 still pending. In 2025, 64 cases were filed, 14 have been concluded, while 50 remain active. By June 2026, 41 defilement cases have been filed and only 1 has been concluded. These figures represent Busia law courts only. They exclude Malaba and Port Victoria law courts, both of which also handle sexual offences, meaning the county's overall caseload is significantly high.
Hello, hi, how are you?
Linda Ndambiri says that although the Children's Act 2022 does not prescribe a specific timeline for concluding children's cases, The law is unequivocal that such matters must be handled and concluded expeditiously.
Judiciary also have come up with guidelines that we need to finalize children cases within 6 months, so it's within their performance within 6 months. And even for us, I think we've developed so many documents, guidelines to prosecutors to just tell them that we need to finalize these cases on time. Because first of all, a child's memory, they can forget. You also don't want them to keep on repeating a traumatic event.
According to Ndambere, best practice requires a child survivor to testify within 2 weeks of the ordeal. But for many children, that remains far from reality, with some waiting more than a year before taking the witness stand.
What the National Council of the Administration of Justice, what they're trying to do is just try to see how they can also set up now specialized children's court in all jurisdictions, in all the counties, because right now we only have 2 specialized in Nairobi, at Milimani and at Tononoka in Mombasa. So all magistrates have been gazetted as children magistrates, but now a specialized court.
Different families we spoke to have different stories, but the pattern is strikingly similar.
Hata mimi sina imani sasa, nimeona tu ni kama watu kuna vile wananyanyasa sisi wananchi. Kwa sababu nimeshughulika kila kitu bafanya hivi, hakuna tofauti. Sasa nimeamua tu nimelusi, nimesema bora mtoto wangu awe mzima.
The kind of feeling that I've always had about this case, that the more it takes, the more it pains me. This very same way it pained me when I had it the first time. And my first move then was that if I found him, I would have killed him. And that pain is still there. So I've not given up in searching for justice the right way. It is 4 years, but I'm still determined that the courts should give me the right. They should give me justice.
Our request to interview the Chief Justice in order to understand the gaps when it comes to children matters were not successful. For families, the questions remain unanswered, not about what happened to their children, but about who will ensure justice is no longer delayed. For children who cannot speak for themselves, the courts and society at large are meant to be their shield. But in a country where the justice system appears to be working against these innocent souls, one disturbing question remains. If the system cannot protect the child, then who will? Emily Chebet, Citizen TV in Busia County.